Okay, now what we want to do is make a stylish header right on each page. Okay, so I can just double click on this portion right here. Just double click here, it opens up my header, right? And then I can choose what I want to write. What I like to do is that on the odd page, I put the title of the book, right? So this is page 7. I just select any random odd page and I put there Abraham, a friend of God. So I just format it, Control A, Control I, and I want it to go to the right hand side. So Control R. Yeah, I change it to Control R, right? So then I come up here. If your formatting tools are still not on, you can still just come here, insert, go to header or footer, edit header, right? So I can click different, odd, and even pages, right? So I click it here, different, odd, and even pages. So it's giving me an odd page here. I come to the page layout and select right -0.3 since that's what I'm using, so it can align well. So if you double click back on the manuscript, you see that on all my odd pages I have Abraham, a friend of God, Abraham, a friend of God. Now for my even pages, for my even pages, I can select something else, like perhaps the chapter I am in right now. So I double click right on my even pages, and in my introduction I type introduction. Okay, I format it and I can change the font style if I want. So I bring it to the left and -0.3 and I keep there right there. So yeah, that size is good for me. But however, you see it is showing throughout the entire book. The entire book is now showing introduction. How do we sort this out? Okay, so I see that this one, the copyright page, is not giving me what I want. It's showing introduction, right? I don't want it to show introduction. So let me just once I delete it, all of them are deleted, right? All the introductions go. That's not what I want. So Control Z for undo, right? So I come to the very next one that has the introduction where I want it, and then okay, so there's one thing we need to do first to show that we want different headers per chapter, right? So I come to introduction. So first of all, let's come to acknowledgement, right? And go to page layouts. I go to page breaks and I click next. Once I click next, it just removes that header from the acknowledgement, right? So I come to the introduction, I click here, I click here, right? And then I go to page layouts, breaks, and I click next, right? So once I click next, that header disappears, right? So I like the fact that it's showing introduction on the next page, right? Showing introduction on the next page, and then back here I come to chapter 1. I don't want introduction to show there, right? So what do? I come back to page layouts, breaks, and then next, right? I see that it has shifted, so I just come back here 100 points and make it 0 points, and it goes back there. So I don't have a header on page 1 of chapter 1. And so I come here, the next page, I don't have a header or a footer. I like it like that for me. So I have the title of the book, I'm a Friend of God. The next page is meant to show me a different title on the header, right? I want to format the title on the header now on chapter 1. So I come here and I want to change it to The Believer, chapter 1, The Believer, right? So I come here to this introduction and then I come up here. This link to previous is activated, so I can either toggle it on or off. Now I don't want to link it to the previous header, so I toggle it off, right? Once I toggle it off, it disconnects from copying the exact thing that is up there. So what do? I change it to chapter chapter 1, The Believer. Right, I double click. So anytime I want to go to the header, shortcut is I double click on the header, and when I want to go back to the body of the text, I double click on the body. It takes me back there. Right, so I can see introduction still has introduction. Now let's go back to the copyright page. Since this one has been activated, now I want to stay on this introduction. Bear in mind that the first place that this title, this header introduction is showing is on the copyright page. So if I come to this introduction right here and I click on it and I click and I deactivate link to previous, right? So it doesn't link anymore to this previous one. Now I can delete this one from here and it would not delete all over my book. So introduction remains, and then I do the same throughout the book, right? So I come to chapter 2. It has this up here, so I come here, go to page layout, bricks, next page, it shifted down. I come here to before 0, and then come to chapter 2, the disciple. I come here again, I come here, double click, right, and I deactivate link to previous, right? So I come here and I change it to chapter 2, the disciple, right? You see that? So chapter 1 maintains its title, chapter 2, the disciple, maintains its title. So I keep doing it throughout. So I go to chapter 3 now because chapter 3 is automatically linked to what is on the previous. So you have to change it, right? So I come to chapter 3, page layout, breaks. Next, it goes down. I go to 0, bring it back up, change this one, unlink it to previous, and then change it to chapter 3, the 7th. Basically, I can just label it what I want, but of course, it's good to make it rhyme. Right, so that's it. If I remove the markers, I see it looking really good right here, right? So I just do that throughout the book.